Right. Yeah. This girl. Well, I was watching Charlie Kirk, and this girl gets up and says, "Yeah, that abortion is in the Bible." Um, you can kind of see. This is why I want to do the video. I don't think Charlie Kirk did a good job of understanding what she was saying and where. Well, I suppose he was, but he's only got a short amount of time as well. You can't get deep into a biblical debate. But you can kind of see what she's saying. I think she's wrong, but you can kind of it's yeah. Listen to what she says. Let's go.
I find it relevant because when I'm going to talk about abortion, there's quotes in the Bible that I think support pro-choice, in my opinion. Bible, Exodus, Exodus 21, 22 through 25, when men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her child come out, so miscarriage. But there is no harm to the woman, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if there is harm to the woman, you shall pay life for life, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. So I know that that can be interpreted different ways. The Bible is interpreted in many ways. There's different types, different interpretations.
So you can sort of see what she's saying. Although, like she said, it can be interpreted many different ways. Because for a group of men to come together and attack a woman without leaving a wound, you would imagine it would be verbally. Maybe the Bible is talking like if you stress a woman out, because that can cause a miscarriage. If men, yeah, are verbally attacking, because I don't know how you can a group of men can attack a woman and not leave a wound. But if the baby dies through that, then it's a fine. Um, which still acknowledges that the loss of that baby is something because you're getting fined for it. But if you attack the woman and she has an injury, then you get the injury. That's how it will be determined. The only thing I will say with this is that at the beginning she says the Bible supports pro-choice. There's no in that women's choice. I think she can make better arguments for a woman's choice than what she's arguing here from the Bible. Because at no point it's if a group also that's not what an abortion is. You don't go to the doctor and they say you say I want to have abortion. They go right, come here, and just beat you up a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's a medical procedure. So coming together and attacking someone, it's again like when people are wanting pro-choice, it's pro-woman choice. It's not pro my choice. Like I can't get a girl pregnant and then make her. No one's arguing for that ability for me to make her have an abortion. It's not my. No one's. It's not pro man choice. It's pro woman choice. Nothing in what she said. It's all determined on what men. Um, like the husband determines the fine for the loss of baby. Like there's no point where the woman chooses the attack, and also Charlie Kirk says he's right. I don't think Charlie Kirk done a good thing because he has a good point in one way, but it's he didn't quite go into her point and kind of dissect what she's saying because you can kind of see what she's getting at, but it doesn't add up. Charlie Kirk goes on to say that when Mary met Elizabeth and she was pregnant with John, that John leapt in her belly when when he saw Jesus's mum. Um, and he says, "Can a baby leap? Can a fetus leap or whatever?" So it showed that, and there is again, there's some scientific truth to that. That a lot of what a baby fears, likes, whatever, is absorbed through that period of the time it's in its mum and determined on what she's nervous and scared about. So if Elizabeth saw Mary and was happy to see her relative, and she's happy, the baby's going to leap and joy because it's absorbing. So then yeah, there's some scientific thing to what they're saying. But also you can say, also in that part that Charlie Kirk said, which I think would be a better point, is that John says the person who will come after me is more powerful than me because he came before me. So John was already born, but he's talking about Jesus. So you can argue that what the Bible really is saying is that the the human of Jesus, the spirit of Jesus, the spirit of a person is created way long before in a religious sense. Um, because yeah, Jesus hadn't been there yet, and John, he said that the person who's going to come after me, Jesus, is more powerful than me because he was before me. How can someone that come after you come before you unless he already existed in a spiritual thing? However, I do think, because I grew up in a very woke um, period, I think like that when people say the Bible is misogynistic, because and on face value you can say it is, because all of the Abraham, Jacob, Isaiah, Jesus, they're all men. So you can say that, yeah, on one hand, on a face value thing, all of the prophets are men, therefore it's misogynistic. But it's actually not. If you, especially Genesis, Exodus and all them are a bit different because they're about a story of Moses freeing the slaves, and so it becomes a bit more specific stories. But if you, in Genesis, you can argue that the majority of the first book of the Bible, most stories, women are the main. I mean, even the initial one of Eve eating the apple, mankind wouldn't have um their same the the ability of the gods without Eve eating that apple. That was the whole point, that she ate the apple. A lot of the stories, Abraham. I'll give you a better one for Bibles being miscarriage, for abortion too, because Abraham, which he says, "I'm the God of Abraham." That's the Christian God, is the God of Abraham. Abraham didn't have no lineage. He didn't have no children because his wife couldn't have children. But he didn't go off and go, "Oh, I'm going to have children and whatever." She then said, "Have my slave girl, have a baby with her, therefore the line will continue." Um, so actually, the woman in that situation controlled the lineage of the man, of Abraham, the main guy. Like, she controls his lineage, and not only did she control it by giving it the slave, he didn't have any kids because she couldn't. She gives her the slave, he gets the slave pregnant, but then his wife, becomes jealous and then has the uh, power over Abraham to say, "I don't want her around no more, and I don't want that baby." She has the ability to send that baby. Abraham's arguably completely, his lineage was completely at the behest of his wife. And then basically God says to her, "If you bring her back, um, I'll give you a baby." And she's like, "I'm too old. I can't have a baby." And God says, "There's nothing I can't do. I'm God." So he does give Abraham's wife a baby. But before that, she decided to give her slave to Abraham to continue his line. And then she also decided to send that girl and the baby away. However, that doesn't, again, there was no point where that wife demanded that the baby be killed in the womb. She just sent it away. So again, it doesn't actually argue abortion, but it does argue how much a woman's choice is incredibly valued in the Bible, to the point where Abraham's whole lineage was dependent on his wife. Um, Another story where I think is Isaac's. I think it's Abraham says to someone, "Go to my." It might be. I don't know. I don't know which way around. It might be for Jacob. No, I don't think it is for Jacob. I think it's for Isaac. But anyway, there's a story in the Bible where he says, "Go back to my homeland and get a wife from my homeland for my son." I think it might be Isaac, Abraham for Isaac. And then he says, "How will I know what one is right?" And then he says, "Go to this water, this well. The A girl will come up and offer to water you and your horse, or and your camel. Um, that's the girl. That will be the girl that, basically, again, the lineage of Abraham and of the God." the Christian God, the lineage of that, um, depends now on this woman. And he's like, but this is where I thought, it's going to get weird. The Bible's going to get weird. And yeah, because he says, what if she says no? What if that girl comes out, says that, and she says no? And I thought, oh no, it's going to be like, well, you have to make her because it's the will of the gods. And I was thinking, here we go, the Bible. But he says, if she says no, then your duty has been fulfilled. Then basically just drop it. So again, the whole will of the gods and of Abraham and that lineage was dependent on the whim of that girl. And then he goes there, that girl comes over, gives him water, gives his camel water, and then he starts talking and saying, and then she agrees to go, and then she goes to be his, the son's wife. But there was a period where I was thinking, because you got to bear in mind as well, this is a book written a long time ago. To have that um, kind of modern world ideology that long ago is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that basically, yeah, the whole whim of the God was built again, though. The whole nation that was going to be born unto this girl and Abraham's son or whoever's son it was dependent on the woman. However, there was never a baby actually in her, and at any point did she get to um kill it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I wouldn't say that the Bible in any way supports abortion, because as well as it goes against the whole thing. If the baby is there, then you must, if you believe in Christian values, you must believe that God made that child for a reason. That if it's in there, so it fundamentally goes against Christian but you can kind of argue how actually a woman's choice is highly, highly regarded in the Bible, as to what, especially over, like I say, the lineage in Genesis is crazy. Most of the stories around Genesis is based almost entirely around women. I'd say probably 90% of the stories are initiated by women, or they are a very key, fundamental, deciding factor in that story. But yeah, we'll finish off a little bit that she's got left.
But this says if a person causes
Come here,
a
them.
miscarriage through a woman, that they will pay for the abortion. So they will pay, another one will punish them.
That is not what this law says, but let me just ask, are you a Christian?
Yes.
Okay, then continue. So,
So it
do you
says,
believe in the inerrant word of God?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. So it says that as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. So the judges determine, and it's talking about the husband, so therefore it's talking about a person, not God himself, not his judgment. So it's saying if someone has an abortion, we have the right to choose what to do to them,
But
right?
didn't you say it was a miscarriage, not an abortion?
It says when man strive together and hit a pregnant woman, so that's causing her to lose the baby. That's an outside cause. Outside cause. Therefore, it could mean abortion, because some people find that aggressive abortion is through violence, such as hitting, because not everyone has access to medical
Was it the
abortion.
intent for them to kill the baby?
It's unclarified, so that I cannot tell you. It's unclarified. However,
And kind of this is why it's not a good idea to make um on every, because the Bible, listening to the Bible is, like she said, is you can interpret it many ways, and it's why you can't have it as the main thing. Although the Western world is completely made of Christian ethics and Christian ideology, 100%. But that's why Jesus come along, because Jesus called out a lot of these old things. Jesus initially upset the Jews for not respecting the Sabbath. It's like Jesus kind of the what's it, kosher, eating everything kosher. You see Jews today eating kosher. Someone said to Jesus, "Why are your followers not washing their hands before they eat. And Jesus said, it's not what goes in the mouth that defiles the man, it's what comes out of the mouth. The corruption and evil is inside of a human, but not from the outside. Um, so a lot of the things, I mean, like I say, Jesus initially died for not doing something that was set, I think, in Exodus, that you have to respect the Sabbath as a day off. Um, so Jesus was really the first outlaw, but you can kind of base laws and things off of Jesus because Jesus really didn't do nothing wrong. It's like you can't really find anything that's necessarily evil or malicious about what Jesus did or what he said. Um, you can kind of base the law off of the New Testament, which I think is what Western civilization initially is from Jesus. But when you get into the Old Testament, there's so many different things that you can interpret so many different ways. It's like I said, what's his name? Joshua. Joshua is a warlord. Listen to that book in the Bible of Joshua. It is just him putting cities to the sword that are not Christian, like or not not yeah, not Christian. It hasn't happened yet. Christ hadn't been there yet, but um in the name of Judaism. Yeah. There's also a story of in I think it's in Joshua where him allowing his people to get attacked in order to attack someone. Which I don't believe that Israel did that, but hearing that at this time when that's what people were saying, Israel did on October the 7th, I don't believe Israel did that. But it is in the Old Testament. It is in the Old Testament that one of the descendants of God did do that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Sweet.